Hey guys, welcome back to Welcome Home Custom. Today we are going to learn how to assemble our jewelry holder and tray. Let's get started. Alright guys, we are going to go ahead and put together our jewelry holder and tray, but we are going to review the files first. You will have access to the Illustrator, DXF, EPS, PDF, and SVG files. We will be looking at the Illustrator files today specifically, but they all are pretty much the same. So when you open your files and unzip the zip, you will find that you've got a part A, part B, a instruction PDF, and also a leather accent. So always make sure that you open your instructions. It will give you a rundown of what the colors are supposed to do or be used for, along with supplies, explanation of slots, and then a little bit more detail about the file breakdown and how to adjust slots. Now the slots are a little bit intense for this project, so I recommend if you can use the slots already provided. It probably will be easier. If not, you're going to want to get really familiar with reference points that will help you in adjusting the file, because in some cases we need the slots to be frozen on the outside and move out, or be frozen on the inside and move in. For my light burn users, your slot and tab resizing tool will not work on the slots because light burn defaults to center when it is adjusting, so please keep that in mind. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with part A. And when you open part A, you will see all of these wonderful sizes. The last three numbers are referring to the size of the slot in the actual file. I recommend going to welcomehomecustom.com and hitting the free section and pick up yourself a material measurement tool. You'll cut the tool out with your laser and then match up the number that your wood fits into best. This is the easiest way to back into the number and not have to worry about kerf. So once we open one of these files, you'll see we have lots of pretty colors. If you are only making the tray and you do not wish to make the upper jewelry part, we would ignore the pink slots. They are also circled in your instructions if you do not see colors in your laser program, but we would basically ignore all of those slots right there, and that would just make the tray. Also to note that the black should be scored and not engraved. If you try to engrave this, it will error out and tell you to close shapes, and that will just make a big mess, so please don't do that. Okay? Let's go ahead and, something else to note. This is for the leather to be attached. If you wish to use wood, you can keep it on this file. If you wish to use acrylic like I did shown in the videos later, you would pull this off and cut this out of acrylic scrap or whatever material you wish to use. So let's go ahead and look at the other file very quickly. We'll move over to part B. You will notice that I don't have as many sizes here, and that is because two reasons. Number one, your earrings won't fit if the material is too thick. And I have concerns that the wood will warp if it is too thin. And that is why I have only provided so many options. So please keep that in mind when you are cutting this file. I really wouldn't go very thin. And again, if you go over I think I cut mine at 0.235 inches, and it was just a little bit too thick. So just keep that in mind. I also don't have holes here. I just have the channels, which work great for studs and dangle earrings. When I assembled this, I found the holes were difficult to reach back behind and insert the earrings, so I eliminated that altogether. All right. And then last but not least, let's go ahead and open up our leather file. If we open the leather file, we will see that it's just 4 pieces of leather that we will cut out on our laser. And then again, check your 1-inch square. Didn't mention that with the other files, but this is so that you know that your 1 by 1 inch is truly 1 by 1 inch and your file did not shrink. So let's go ahead and jump on over to assembly. Jumping right in, I am going to sort out my pieces. So the scored pieces are all the tray sides, and then these 2 pieces are interior tray dividers. I've got all these little pegs, and the triangles are going to help hold up the jewelry holder. We've got the leather pieces. Those go on the corners of our jewelry tray. And then I doubled up the base because I wanted to make sure that our jewelry uprights had a lot of stability on the tabs and slots. And don't worry, we're going to go through all of this very slowly while we assemble. So don't freak out. There are a lot of pieces, but we'll go through them. We also have the jewelry earring holder and necklace holder. Please note I did remove the holes because I found that my chubby little hands could not put the backs on the earrings, and so I'm using the open slot for both studs and dangly earrings. They both work the same way in that U-shaped slot, and it's not an issue at all. So I do need to clean up my scoring a little bit, so I'm using some denatured alcohol and I am just running it over the wood. This does a pretty good job of cleaning off any of the char marks. And then I'm going to grab my hand sander and sand any of the pieces that don't have scoring. I'm just going to take my sander straight to it and clean off the char that way. Okay, so talking about the base real quick, you'll see I have a rectangle scored on each one. I'm going to flip it around because our rectangle is technically the front of our jewelry holder. Now, when we put in all of the sides of what I'm going to call the tray, all those scored pieces should be facing out. So we have a decorative box all the way around the tray. Now, I have been a very bad leader in that I haven't cut my material measurement tool in all of my different woods that I'm now using. And so what I'm doing right here is I am actually using my Marathon rotary with their whisper, or with the saber-tooth whisper bit, and I am shaving off a little bit of each one of my tabs because they are just a little bit too thick. And I have found that hardwood is very fragile and will break, and so I can't force it in like I do with an MDF. So now that I have the back piece in place, I put the front piece in place, again making sure that the score lines are facing out. I still will use my mallet to tap stuff in, but I'm just a little bit gun shy. I am a lot more careful with the pressure that I'm applying. So now we're going to move to the short sides, again making sure that the scored pattern is on the outside. And of course these don't fit, because if the first ones didn't fit, these won't either. So I'm going to have to shave these down as well. Once that is all in place, we can go ahead and move on to the pieces in the center. So the first piece we're going to add is the decorative rounded shaped piece This again should be facing forward. Your scored rectangle should be in the front. I'm going to spare you having to watch me once again sand them down, but I did. And now we will just push it into place. Next, we are going to add the squares with tab or rectangle with tab and push them down. They are acting as compartments within the tray. And at this point, if all you wanted to build was the tray, this is your stopping point. Now we are going to go ahead and do the rest with the jewelry holder as well. But just so you know, if you wanted to make just the tray and you ignored those magenta slots, this is your stopping point. So it's actually a pretty easy build in my opinion, as long as you use the wood measurement tool and actually measure your slots correctly. So now we're going to go ahead and move on to adding the necklace holder. There is one thing that I forgot to do in the video, and that was adding the triangles that act as a additional support. I will add those in a little bit, but you really should try to add them before you insert your holder into the slots. Now that I have my little kickstand feet in place, I'm going to move on to the earring holder. Again, the holes are no longer there because I didn't feel like it was easy to put backs onto earrings, but the U-shaped slots work just as well with stud earrings, so I wasn't too concerned. I am adding the feet first, and now I am going to slide the earring holder into place and give it a light tap to make sure that it's pushed all the way down. At this point, if you haven't finished your wood or protected your wood, you probably should do so. I forgot to, and so I grabbed it and sprayed it with some satin finish just to darken the wood and make it really stand out. Now we're going to go ahead and dye our leather. For the leather that I'm using, it is a 2 to 3 ounce veg tan leather from Tandy Leather, and the dye I'm using is EcoFlow oil dye in a light brown. So I am just brushing the dye onto each of the leather pieces with a paintbrush, and I will let it soak in. It dries pretty fast and it dries kind of light. I actually wish I had gone darker, but it's still really pretty. So let's talk about placement. You'll see that we've got half circle and 2 full circles, half circle and 2 full circles. So what we're going to do is we are going to line up the corner of our leather with the upright in the middle of the second full circle. You see that? And that is going to be our placement. I'm also going to push it all the way down to the wood base. This way we know that it's going to be even all the way around when we apply the leather. So I'm going to use some Star Bond on the back of my strips of leather, and I'm just going to dot the leather with a bunch of dabs of glue, and then I'm going to spray the holder with the Star Bond activator so that it becomes pretty much an instant bond. Then from there, I'm going to add my acrylic pieces. I used a copper pearl. I think something like an rose gold acrylic would be really pretty, or a metallic would be really pretty. All of those would really look nice. So I designed this whole thing around this ring tray that can be inserted into the jewelry holder itself. I ended up not including it in the pictures because I didn't love the stark contrast of the white with the wood, but just so you know, that is an option, and I will include the link to the ring tray in the description below. All right, guys, that's it. Hopefully you found this tutorial helpful. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and check out more tutorials just like this. Thanks so much.